Okay, looks like we've got a quorum, Madam Clerk, right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, and the chairman has not joined us yet, so let's get started. The is the mayor coming on this? Is the mayor going to join us? Do we know?
I see
Okay,
Elizabeth is joining right now. I'm not sure if the mayor will be joining.
okay. Let's get started. It's 4:03. The March 18th Recreation Committee meeting is now called to order. Let's take a moment of silence. Amen. Item two, the February 24th, 2024 minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second? I heard the move for approval, but I didn't hear a second.
Was it me that said move for approval? I want to make sure you heard me.
I heard.
I
Okay.
second it. Sorry, I was on mute. A second.
Okay. Thank you. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Let's move to old business. And Jason, I guess this is yours, the Park Capital Projects update
Yeah,
and Park Fair maintenance schedule.
so good afternoon, everyone. I have a considerable amount of information to share with you all today based on our last meeting. So if you'll bear with me, I have a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to move through some stuff relatively quickly, and you're welcome to interrupt or ask questions at any time if that's okay with everybody.
It's fine.
Okay, so let me share my screen. And when that's up, let me know.
It's up.
Okay. So this first couple slides I'm going to show you are not only parks capital projects, but they're also maintenance projects. So basically, we work through the capital plan as well as our regular budget cycle to fund projects in the parks around the city annually. So again, these aren't in any particular order, but they may be within a park or in a park. So the first project, and I'm just going to start reading, not all of the detail, but again, let me know if you have any questions as we go. The bike ped bridge is the design team is working, and the geotech work is complete. You may have seen the marsh buggies out there recently. WPL Park on Wapu Roads in its second round of TRC review. We're working on the Bridgepoint Ecological Park in Outer West Ashley. That's in conjunction with the Stormwater Department. We will be making the playground improvements as that project comes to fruition. Brittlebank Park Playground renovation. We've designed the new playground, working with the vendor, and we're securing a design and engineering permit as we have to permit that project through the Corps of Engineers as it relates to the 1971 landfill from the CAT permit, that is. Pemberton Park, again, passive park. It's in TRC permitting. We've salvaged the slate roof off the existing structure. Currently working with some demo contractors to get bids for the removal of that old burned out house. And we're also working with the South Carolina Battleground Trust, who holds the easement over the earthworks to review the current plan to gain their support for that project. Johns Island Park, working with Charleston County School District for the ball field and multi-purpose field renovations. The school district currently has that project in TRC. Mulberry Park, playground renovation in Ardmore, working with the Charleston Parks Conservancy on the first of its kind food forest in that park location. And we're finalizing our playground layout and design, working with the neighborhood association. Plymouth Park, there's a concept plans complete, working with the neighborhood association on fundraising. That's a project that's funded both by the city and the efforts of those folks in the neighborhood. Shaw Center, interior upfit design underway, site work and drainage improvements in TRC to gain that permitting that we need to get that project out for bid to construct later this year. St. Thomas Island Bike Pedestrian Bridge drawings near completion and coordinating with the Department of Transportation on how that construction work happens. If you'll remember, that's a federally funded project. West Ashley Bikeway, repaving and footbridge replacements for that last section of the bikeway is currently in TRC and the permitting's underway. Greenway Bikeway Connector, Wapu Road, finalizing the design and working with the Department of Transportation so that we can turn that project over to the county for construction. So we have an agreement with them that we'll design and permit it. Then again, they'll take it on for construction. Angel Oak Preserve, working with the Land Trust on operations and maintenance agreements to figure out how that entire new park comes to fruition on Johns Island. Municipal golf course restrooms, working with the stormwater department, closing out the original permit so that we have the ability to apply for the new permits. So as soon as that those as-built surveys are complete and the stormwater department signs off on that last phase of the project, we'll be able to advertise the restroom projects for construction. So I know that was a lot. I'm gonna go to the next page. We're gonna keep working through this. This is my last.
Jason,
Yeah.
Jason, before you move on, you said something about a food forest on one of
Yes,
them.
sir.
Which one was
That's
that?
that's over in the Ardmore neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Mulberry Pond, which is part of that stormwater system. So we've got a new playground that we're renovating inside of that location, and we're working with the Charleston Parks Conservancy. They applied for a grant through the State Forestry Commission last year and got the grant. So what a food forest is it's kind of like a community garden, but it's a little bit more natural, if you will. So they'll be coming in with that, and it's the first of its kind in the state. So
Okay.
so they'll come in and plant fruit-bearing trees and fruit-bearing plants. And once those trees and plants mature enough, anybody will be able to walk through and harvest the fruit. So hopefully it's a managed scenario, and over harvesting doesn't happen, but it's a different take on a community garden, but in a more natural layout.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
that's underway.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep going unless there are any other questions. You all may have seen some social media posting, the Greenway Bikeway Wayfinding Project, which we've been working on for a considerable amount of time. Those signs and wayfinding signs are being installed, and we're getting some great feedback on that. Working on the Governor's Park multi-purpose field drainage system enhancements. Stormwater permit has been applied for, and looking forward to get that permit in hand so we can put that project out to bid. Working with the dedicated group at the Gilliard for the Ancestors Burial Memorial, working through design and permitting and a non-standard stormwater review of that process on how that project comes to fruition. Also have a small project, but not low impact, over at Harmon Field, working with the design consultant to get that public-private partnership designed and permitted. And what that is, it's a small mini pitch, which is a little fenced soccer field that we will work with the recreation department and the Little Pele Soccer Club on how that project is managed and used to educate the children in the neighborhood about sportsmanship and teamwork, and it's a pretty cool program. Working with design consultant on the Martin Park Lee Street Master Plan. So this is a project that we've been talking about for a while now, and so basically we're looking at the entire Lee Street corridor where the stormwater easements are adjacent to the Grace Homes as well as the James Lewis Jr. apartment building. And so that'll be a linear park master plan with the Martin Park upgrades included. So that'll be a robust community engagement, and we'll get that master plan done and keep that project moving forward as well. Annual basketball and tennis court resurfacing projects. Basically, this is what we do annually. We have Maybank Courts 7 and 8, Forest Park Tennis, Moultrie Tennis Courts 1 and 2, Park Shore Tennis, Martin Park Full Basketball, Willie Gaines Basketball, Etowah Parks, and McMahon Basketball Courts on the list for resurfacing. So that project will go out to bid. Hopefully we can afford them all. Another one that's long time coming, Longborough Dock. Again, still working with the neighborhood association, waiting for their feedback on the last plan that we shared with them. Some other projects that were funded through the budget cycle last year: Bees Landing Park scoreboard replacements, West Ashley Park and Bees Landing and Harmon soccer netting repairs and replacements, Daniel Allen Rec Center window tinting, Moultrie Park House and restroom roof replacements, and the Jack Adams restroom roof replacements. So those are kind of the non-capital and capital improvements that we're working on right now. Happy to answer any questions on those if you have any.
Did you mention
I'm sure.
last-
I'm sorry. Go on.
I think was there a last point that you bullet point, the Bayview parking lot, or did you hit that?
Yeah, sorry, that one's hidden behind my screen. Yeah, so we went and did some Bayview parking lot improvements. We installed some traffic control in the rear parking lot where we're having some issues with after hours access. And then there's a request by Councilmember Parker to expand some of the existing parking. So we've got some concepts developed. We'll be working on some cost estimating, and then that would have to be part of a future budget request to get that work accomplished.
Just a couple of questions. I know that Councilmember Parker would probably ask this question. James Island. A lot of these are non-James Island, right?
Based on, that's correct. Yeah.
And I guess where I was going with that is anything for Westchester, perhaps, or Ferguson Village? I know we recently did some stuff in Ferguson Village.
Yes, so my apologies. We do have some funding this year based on last year's budget request to do some landscape enhancements along the third baseline of the Ferguson Village ball field. So that'll help with a little curb appeal. Still trying to get an agreement with Bishop Gadsden on that land share agreement that they had committed to a few years ago. Reach out to them frequently, or at least monthly, sorry, not frequently, to kind of get an update on where we are with that agreement. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Just want the record to reflect some more James Island stuff.
Yeah, and of course we have Fort Pemberton, which is a pretty significant park on James Island, as well as the Plymouth Park project that we're working on. So we're also working on some concept plans for the Stephen Washington Park, and these will all be part of a future budget request.
Maybe I missed it, and it may already be here. The one where we were going to sort of partner with the county on 19 acres or something over there on James Island, not Fleming Road, what's Rivers Road or somewhere? Sheila, you know which one I'm talking about.
Tell me where again, I'm sorry.
I can't remember if it was off Fleming Road or Rivers Road, and we went over and we all took a look at it. It has unbelievable views.
Oh,
yeah, the ponds and stuff between the county park and Fort Pemberton. Yeah.
Yes.
So that park, I believe, was purchased.
Yes.
And then it was transferred over to the Charleston County Parks and Recreation Commission, and then it will be theirs for future park implementation.
Okay, I thought the county had the responsibility for it. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah. And happy to keep going and talk a little bit about our annual turf maintenance and how that goes. I'm not sure where we are in the agenda. I have a lot of screens up, and I'm not sure if that's next or not.
Just keep going.
It does say on the screen, annual turf maintenance. Oh, you meant on the agenda. Jason, I just wanted to ask you a question on a couple of things on those, with docks, the Longborough dock and Fort Pemberton dock. I mean, are those docks where people can tie up now, or are they not open at this point?
Longborough doesn't exist yet.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
Pemberton, the docks are there, but the park is they need to be renovated and the park is not open yet.
Okay. Okay. Great. And Bridgepoint, I mean, we're talking about slides and swings, that type of thing at the Bridgepoint.
That's right. As part
Okay.
of that, as part of the ecological park with the stormwater
Right.
department, we have a section of it carved out for playground equipment and some walking trails. So the walking trails will be part of the stormwater project, and then we'll come in at the end of their project with the playground equipment component.
Great. Thank you.
And I'm just going to keep going. Got a lot to go through here. Never really presented this much information before, but I thought it would be good to let everybody know, based on our last meeting, what's going on, how we do it, and how we get it accomplished. So basically, we have a 12-month turf maintenance schedule. I won't go through each month here unless you have any specific questions. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on annually. We just started overseeding our turf for the winter months with ryegrass. So again, starting in January, we monitor the turf. We do winter weed control. That's a typo there. Pre-emergent herbicide applications. March, we begin fertilizations of the store as the temperatures increase. Start mowing the turf to 1 inch to promote that lateral growth. So something we've been working on for a couple of years is to get those athletic fields down so they're much more resilient to the heavy use that they get. April, monitor weeds, treat for pests and disease, fertilize, weekly mowing. Again, more monitoring. In May, we put out ant bait to control ants and mole crickets, fertilize, again, more turf growth. And based on the turf growth, we have the opportunity to apply some growth regulator, which helps with how the turf grows, forces the roots out and trying to get the less height on the turf so it doesn't require so much mowing. But we do mow about every 3 days in the summer season to keep that level down as low as we can get it. Again, continuing on through the year until we put out the rye seed and continue to mow the rye through the winter and fertilize as needed. So it's a 12-month program. We're always keeping an eye on it so we can keep that next month going.
Hey, Jason, I wanted and this happened a long time ago, probably last season, when you cut the azalea bushes in Hampton Park with that unbelievable machine you've got there.
Right.
I don't know what it was, but wow.
Yeah, they came back. You know, it's always a little time for them to come back, but they're beautiful right now.
Yes, but that machine you used to cut them.
Oh, I got you.
It was just unbelievable to me, the way it was done.
Got it.
Okay.
So here, I wanted to kind of jump into kind of field programming and how all of this works, so you all understand kind of the big picture. Again, never really presented it this way, but thought it would be good for you all to see and hear what's going on out there. Basically, we have 125 acres of athletic field turf, 39 multi-purpose fields, and 37 diamonds. And what does that look like in the field? So we work with the recreation department every year. So this is what we get in this springtime. And I'm going to go through all of these parks. I'm not going to list everything, but you'll see the diagrams. You'll see the number of fields that we paint in our fields. So at Bayview, we have 4 full-size adult rec fields, but we laid those out based on recreation permitting and programming to support the needs of those folks that are out there playing. So you'll see at Bayview, there's 20 different layouts, different age groups. And so there's lots of paint that happens weekly as the turf grows. Ackerman Park, a number of different layouts. The overlays you see there are kind of left over from fall flag football, but then you have the 2 full-size soccer fields. Governor's Park, there's 14 different layouts. Baseball, soccer. So this is all for the spring. Then the ball fields at Governor's. Freedom Park over on Daniel Island, 9 different layouts within that park space. Again, lots of different age groups and lots of different users out there. Etowah Park on Daniel Island, 5 different layouts. Harmon poolside, we have 4 layouts. You have adult soccer and adult flag football. Harmon big side, Burke baseball, Burke softball, and an adult soccer. Gadsdenboro, 10 different layouts that you see. All these little layouts are different sizes and overlap each other in all of these park spaces. So, of course, Ravenel, and then moving on to James Allen Rec Field 4, we have baseball and coach pitch T-ball type fields all around. McMahon, baseball, T-ball, 4 different layouts. Camp Road Middle, 3 different layouts. West Ashley Park front, again, 11 different layouts on those full-size fields. Lots of folks out there using those spaces. The rear, West Ashley Park, 8 different layouts on the baseball fields. Again, that just shows that this number of users out there is pretty large total. Bees Landing, multi-purpose field gets laid out into 3 different layouts. And then we go into the field scheduling. So each week, based on those layouts, the recreation department sends us one of these. So basically what you see is on our athletic complexes, like James Allen Rec, this is for James and Johns Island. Each week, there are 27 field drags. We have to set bases based on what kind of games, and there are 8 different paints that are required for those soccer fields. So when the grass is growing and you're cutting grass, you're cutting paint. So the painters are trying to keep, well, the few painters that we have are trying to keep up with our grass cutters. Weekly schedules on the peninsula, 6 field drags per week, set bases, 2 paints. So this is all going to grow as these seasons progress in users and number of cuts and drags and paints. Daniel Island, 8 field drags, set bases, 4 paints. West Ashley, we have 27 field drags each week, set bases, 5 paints, and all of those different fields that I showed you. What are the recent accomplishments in our athletic fields? So basically, we have, again, 125 acres of turf. That stuff is mowed hopefully twice a week, depending on the rain, but just to keep the turf down and keep it safe, and consistent watering, fertilization, top dressing, weed control, aerification, plus 100 other different areas of landscape and common space maintenance. What have we done since January? We've started our annual fertilization program for the 60 acres of rye, 2 monthly fertilizations complete. March fertilizations ongoing, including pre-emergent for all turf areas. Completing those spring layouts that we just went through, 82 different soccer fields. Again, this will increase as registration is finalized, and 31 different baseball, softball fields programmed. What have we done in the winter months? We've redefined the base paths, pitching lanes where present, many infield arcs to remove lips, the build up and straighten the mounds. Got some work done in James Island 1 and 3, West Ashley Park 1 and 2, more mounds being completed weekly as more clay comes in. We're also pro-grooming the infields with our equipment that we have, adding calcined clay conditioner back to these fields where prioritization is on game fields at James Island Rec, Harmon, Governors, Bees, West Ashley Park, Orange Grove, and Johns Island Parks. 40 plus daily drags happen, again, weather dependent. Complete spraying for winter weeds, especially along the edges and overseeded fields. We're actually collecting soil samples for all athletic complexes. As we wait for those results to come in, we'll be able to adjust our fertilizer applications as the year progresses. We want to make sure that we know what the conditions of the soil are and make sure we're fertilizing correctly. We're also starting some small pilot programs this year with some bio type growth enhancements. So we're going to do this and we're going to evaluate the how it works and what the results are, so we can hopefully lower our frequency or dependency on man-made nitrogen, and kind of go through this biological process to see if we can make that work. We've completed a meeting with representatives for an engineered field infield mix product. So basically, clay's becoming harder to come by. Most of the quarries in the region, for some reason or another, are closing. So we're trying to find another product to use for the infield work that we do annually. So I'll keep moving along. I know this is a lot. Let's see here. Let me go to the next page. What did we do last week, right? Our athletics crew dragged 68 scheduled fields. We completed 2 scheduled baseball, softball games. We have 13 other games that we supported throughout the week. We repainted 87 layouts last week. We have to do that again, like I said earlier, because the grass grows. You know, it's a lot of work. We got a small crew that does it. We're adding the Stony Field synthetic turf grooming. We're doing that every 3 weeks with the specialized equipment that we pull behind a gator based on the usage there. And we continue to work on our neighborhood parks and fields to improve those conditions where we're not as highly programmed. So how do we do this, right? We have our current crew. So you'll see here, we are currently in the process of onboarding and hiring 5 new staff members. So for 11 total. We're getting all of that work accomplished right now with 6 folks. So with the budget process from last year, the funding that you all enabled us to get new staffing, we have, again, 5 new positions that we're hiring for right now, which is going to increase the ability to do that off-season work and increase the efficiency of getting the weekly work done. Like you see, this is almost double in staff from what we had previously. So right now we have the green positions you see are currently funded and opened. So we have an assistant superintendent coming in. We haven't advertised and interviewed with that for that yet. We have a spray tech position that we're getting ready to advertise for, and another irrigation tech. So right now we have 1 spray tech, 1 irrigation tech, 1 QAT, which is a quality assurance technician that does the painting of the athletic fields, and he has another staff member, a lead groundskeeper, that helps him with that. This second lead groundskeeper is the guy that cuts all of that turf. So we have 1 person that cuts all of our athletic fields. Again, we're working to get new people hired. We're doubling our staff size. So with the folks that we have interviewing right now, we'll have 11 folks. Hopefully they all accept those positions.
Jason, what's your vacancy right now?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can double check that for you.
Okay.
And just for reference, the town of Mount Pleasant, they currently have 7 staff members, and they have a fraction of the fields that we maintain on a daily basis. They have 20 multi-purpose fields, 13 baseball fields, and 6 softball fields. The College of Charleston, they have 4 full-time ground staff, but they maintain 2 soccer fields and 1 baseball field. So just kind of, if you're looking at the kind of the big picture here, we're currently doing all of that with 6 folks, and hopefully we get up to 11 in the coming weeks. So again, I know that was a lot of information. I just kind of wanted to put it out there, and in a way you've never seen or heard from us before. We're doing a good job. We have some incredible folks, and with the salary increases and the new positions that you have all funded through the budget process, we're getting there. We're, more ability to focus on some of the less scheduled fields. So,
yes, Councilman Shealy.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Gregory, and thank you for all your work, Jason, and filling those positions too. That's outstanding. That's good news. Great to hear. Just wanted to ask, I know as my daughter plays soccer, high school and club soccer, she's playing on more and more artificial turf fields. A lot of people are going to that. For example, 2 weeks ago, it rained all day long in Beaufort County and Charleston County, and they got on the bus at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the pouring rain, drove down to Bluffton High School, played a match in the pouring rain, and then there was a men's or a boys match after that. And when they got finished, the field was in as good a shape as it was before. I mean, and when I'm looking at how much effort goes into the natural turf fields, I mean, I guess my question is, to me, it seems like we should be, that maybe we're not following what Bluffton County or Beaufort County schools are doing, and Richland County schools, when we play up there, all of those are on artificial turf now. It's certainly because of the maintenance and because of the ability to be able to play. But I just kind of wanted to ask your thoughts on that, you know, and where you think we should head, or should we head toward that direction?
You know, it certainly is a more resilient surface, and you're able to move right in the rain or right after the rain. You know, I think there's probably a little debate on turf versus synthetic, and I know Lori's on. She probably has some input on that as well. You know, that comes down to, you know, identifying the projects, getting them in the capital plan, and there's still maintenance that has to happen, but it certainly is less frequency. You get a little less ability to adjust and program like the city does with all of the U sports, and based on annual registration, you know, the turf fields are pretty much stuck, right, when you lay them out. And you know, I don't have a lot of experience, and I think there's a way to paint them with a latex go away paint, kind of like we do our turf fields. But yeah, it's out there. It's you know, some people love it, some people don't.
Right.
You know, we don't really have a policy, but yeah, they're more resilient for the quantity of use that we get out there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Jason? Yes, McBride, council member.
Yeah. Yeah, great. That's a lot of awesome information, and the staff is working their butts off. Knowing that we're short-staffed, and hopefully we'll get that staff filled up. Like I know when John's on, I don't know about the other districts, but you guys probably have the same thing. You have a lot of parents volunteering to get the fields ready to go, you know, the baseball fields. And sometimes you know, they don't necessarily know when the city staff is going to go do their maintenance. And so what I want to try to do, and for that meeting on Friday, the intent is to take some of the information you just briefed, Mr. Kronsberg, and kind of the schedule, and just acknowledging, hey, here's where we have shortfalls based on the game schedule and that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking mostly baseball, obviously, and let the parents know, or let the coaches and the parents know where the shortfalls are going to be, where the gaps are going to be, so they can plan for it in advance. And ideally, I would like to set up a way to where the baseball teams, I'll just use Johns Island as an example, can somehow communicate with your office or your staff to coordinate more seamlessly, so that if there's supposed to be clay put down on a particular day or particular week, and it doesn't happen because of some backup or lack of supplies or funding or whatever, that the coaches can get, there's a two-way communication, so they can say, okay, got it, we'll cover down, or for dragging the field if the city's behind or whatever. I want to try to find a way to, knowing we can't meet everyone's needs 100%, I want to find a way to increase and improve communication between the public and the city staff, so that together the parents and the coaches and the city staff can maintain the fields better. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, and again, Lori's on here as well. We followed the recreation program schedule for field maintenance. We haven't had any program stuff on Johns Island in a while in the ball fields. Again, when we get those weekly schedules, that's the schedule we follow. When it comes to the school district, they're working on their renovation plans, but the school district, they maintain their own fields, and it's, we don't necessarily have their schedules on our schedule for the high school sports, that is. And, again, we follow that schedule that's provided to us by the recreation department.
Yeah, and Jason, I'll jump in for just a second to share my thoughts on that. So according to the agreement we have with the school district, the St. John's does their own baseball field. So I know are out there mowing grasses on that park, but the actual dragging after a significant rain event, things like that, those works are not performed by the city per the agreement. They're supposed to be done through the school district. And Councilmember Bright, I will share with you, as difficult as it is for the city to communicate sometimes, when you throw in communicating between the school district and then the schools themselves, it really creates some gaps of understanding. So I think that would be helpful for everybody to understand what the city does and what the school district's responsible for. We do a lot of things here at Stony Field and Harmon Field in preparation for Burke with our agreement, and those uses. And so it takes a lot of coordination to have with the athletic directors, with these coaches. They're not always talking. So there's just a lot of misinformation that happens. So I think we could do that, because really what's going on right now with the Johns Island Little League, I think they're Barrier Island Little League or whatever the name they're going by right now. They just ask us if they can use any city fields, and we tell them when they can use a city field, but we're not dragging fields for their games and their practices. The dragging and painting and all are for City of Charleston games and practices, and that's the schedule that Jason's using and going after. So, there's a little bit of tightening up of how we use words of who's baseball and who's programs and who's the schools. So I think it will help when everyone understands that.
Yeah, 100%. And I know that meeting on Friday, I don't think we have CCSD people going to be there at that meeting, but I would ideally, again, it would be wonderful if we can have, and I can help facilitate that relationship with the CCSD folks on Johns Island because they co-use the field, obviously, so that we can maybe have a follow-on meeting after Friday with CCSD representative, so that we can kind of get that communication flow. You're right. It's not just two-way, it's three-way. It's between the county, us, and the local populace that are helping to maintain the fields. And of course, rainstorms is huge too. If rain happens the day before a game, that's a huge problem for everybody. So just trying to find a way to, when something unscheduled happens, outside of even the published schedule, who does Coach so-and-so talk to figure out if the city's able to come and kind of cover down on a field that got rained on, or if not, and so that the parents could cover down. So hopefully I'm making sense, but just I want to try to find a way to streamline that communication, and we can talk about it on Friday if there's a way to do that.
Any other questions for Jason? Jason, that was very thorough, and I thought that the orientation that you gave was important, particularly for new council member and councils and staff. That was thorough, and that's just a fraction of what you do.
Okay. We have a good team, and it's a lot of territory to cover when you got two field techs going from Daniel Island to Johns Island almost every day.
Yes. Do you do any indefinite quantity contracts to help you out?
Johns Island Park, Angel Oak, and all the parks on Daniel Island are under contract maintenance, but not for the paints and the infield work. It gets pretty specific on that kind of stuff, and you don't want to have a lot of people out there. So hopefully with the new folks that we're getting ready to bring on staff, that our winter work expands, and some of these other neighborhood parks get a little bit more attention. Like I said, right now we're following that recreation programming schedule for the work that that they have, based on their users.
Appreciate. I want to, thank you and Laura for all you do. Why don't we go to new business? In 4A, there is a request to name the playground building at Forest Park after a long-time employee, Freddie Lee. And I'm sure that this has been supported by Council Member Waring because it is in his district.
He made that recommendation, Councilmember Gregory. That was his suggestion that we do this to honor her for her 49 years of service to the city of Charleston through the Recreation Department.
Okay. And is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. All in favor of naming the playground building at Forest Park in honor of retired city employee Freddie Lee, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. 4B, field programming schedule.
Jason, I'll jump in and touch in for just a minute. I've provided some updated numbers to the clerk's office. I don't really know that it's necessary to pull them up, but right now we're at 5,448 folks playing spring sports with us on athletic fields. Now that doesn't count all of our tennis leagues, all of our indoor basketball leagues, all the folks playing pickleball, all of that. These are just using the fields that Jason and his staff take care of. So we actually start baseball and softball on Saturday for the 9 and up. And then the younger kids will start next week. So here's where our schedule really gets challenging. All of those practices that these teams have been having for the last couple of weeks, starting on Saturday, those fields are all going to have games on them. So in order for teams to practice, they're going to have to start moving to some of our neighborhood parks. And that's where those parks being able to be dragged once or twice a week will make a big difference. The Stephen Washingtons, the Thomas Johnsons, the Lenarvar parks, the Mitchell playground, all of those places, you'll start seeing teams popping up over there in the next week because all of the games are going on our complex field. So that's when Rubber and Road will meet for Jason and his crew trying to keep up with that. It will help though that bases will be set by then. All of our paintings should be touch-up paintings instead of having to go do an entire field layout from scratch. But one of the things, and I do want to make sure I share this, that makes our rec department more challenging than maybe a high school is that where you see a soccer field that's a championship size soccer field, if you go and put the lines down for that for 11v11, it's not that hard. But when Jason's guys are asked to go back and make a field on top of that for 4 under-6 teams and 4 under-8 teams, which all have different ages and different numbers of players, and they're all these smaller fields, they're painting multiple fields because that's how we do our program. We make sure that our under-6 kids are playing in very small numbers so that they get lots of touches and the kids get lots of time on the field and they actually learn the sport. So it's a little different than a high school sport where you paint it one time and you go. So it makes it a lot more challenging, but we continue to work with our parks department and they're keeping up with our growth and demands. Right now, we're continuing to meet those needs right now. And I want to say this is my 3rd parks director I've had the opportunity to work with at the city, and Jason and I have the best working relationship that I've had with the parks director. He appreciates and understands what we do, even though we go and tear up and mess up fields after he gets them pretty and ready. But he's great to work with, and I'm happy and appreciative for that because that makes the situation more manageable for all of our citizens.
Okay. Update on the municipal golf course restrooms. That's you, Jason? You're on mute.
Yeah, so I touched base on that. So basically, we had to create an as-built survey of all of the ponds on the golf course in order to close out the renovation project. That stormwater permit remained open. So that surveying has been completed, and we are meeting with the stormwater department going through their checklists and getting all the T's crossed and the I's dotted to satisfy that permit requirement. Again, that's ongoing. We met with them last week to go through the checklist with the consultants. So hopefully we'll be getting near the end of that tunnel. You all approved the purchase of the prefab boxes last year. There was a considerable amount of lead time on those, but those have been ordered. As soon as we get that permit closed out, we're ready to put the project out to bid. So what that means is we purchased the boxes from the manufacturer, the prefab restroom boxes based on our specifications. We have drawings prepared, so we'll have to put that work out to bid to where we hire a general contractor to come run the utilities and actually coordinate the base prep and setting of the boxes when they arrive on the truck. So don't have a definite schedule yet. It just depends on how long it takes us to get through the closeout of that other stormwater permit.
Okay. And any questions? If not, I'm sure the enterprise manager is a Laurie question.
Yes, sir, it is. Sorry, I had to take myself off of mute. It is. So right now, in our year-to-dates, I'm tracking, we are scheduled to bring in $50,000 from our enterprise manager directly from that position. He's at
Laurie.
Yes, sir.
Laurie, for folks who are new.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Could you explain what that position is all
I
about?
absolutely can. Thank you, Councilmember Gregory, for keeping me on track. I don't know what I'd do without you. So in our Parks and Rec master plan that we completed during COVID and has been adopted by City Council and kind of laid the groundwork for how we're going to fund all of our parks and recreation needs over the next few years in that first bond. One of the things that was added into there was to create an enterprise manager to help create business partnerships, additional sponsorship opportunities, ways that the city can garner money through businesses and agencies that might be like-minded and want to provide services like we do. And so we brought in Justin Braddock. He's been with us a year and a half. Obviously, he spent the first 6 or 8 months shaking a lot of hands, meeting a lot of people, being told that our budget cycle's not in play right now. You're going to need to come back to us next year. So he's been doing a lot of that. Right now, he's sitting at over $25,000 he's brought in to his $50,000 year goal, dollar goal. I know that he will beat that goal. We gave him a realistic number though, because it's really hard to tell when you're building relationships. And it also is going to depend on how the city chooses to take this, because Jason and I sat down with Justin. He pitched some ideas he has that the city of Charleston will need to decide, does that look like the city of Charleston? If you look around some of our neighboring areas in the Low Country, Goose Creek, North Charleston, they put in some very expensive new parks. They've spent millions of dollars on them, but they've also sold away a lot of naming rights in doing that and have brought in private dollars. I don't know if that's the city of Charleston. We've obviously have a new mayor. We have new council members. You all are looking at things, but Jason and I will be kind of tasked with putting some ideas in front of Mayor Cogswell and then in front of you all. These are things we could do beyond what we do right now. So right now we're selling ball field fence signage. We're selling, if you want to we had a sponsor for the local fishing tournament last year, and they gave us cash. So we're doing those kind of things and creating partnerships and relationships right now in the community. And that could be bigger than what it is. The second phase of what we do with sponsorships is through our youth sports program. Our goal is to have all of our youth sports teams, their uniforms have a business sponsor on the front. And in doing that, each business pays $250. That helps us produce the shirts and takes away from some of the money that we're spending to make sure these kids are in uniform and things like that. That goal is $150,000 for this year. Right now we're over 42,000, and we're still taking in spring monies and things like that. So we have been successful in meeting those revenue goals in each of those 2 categories the last year. I don't anticipate that being a change. We've got a great product and folks are interested in having their names attached to us. We have a couple of really big sponsors in Harris Teeter and Roper St. Francis. We'd like to continue those relationships. The River Dogs was a big sponsor for us last year, and they're coming back again this year. So we're working all of those business partners that make a lot of sense for us, and trying to do things that keep us from having to ask you all for more money, but still allowing us to offer very robust programming.
Okay. Any questions of Laurie? If not, let's move on to Bayview Soccer Complex parking lot extension. Is that a?
Yeah, so I touched on that a little bit earlier. Councilmember Parker had requested some additional parking over in Bayview. We met out there with the councilwoman and with Lori, and looked at how we lay out our fields. Based on my presentation, you'll see that, you know, it always changes. We always have smaller U fields going up all around park spaces. I think we agreed upon some areas where we could expand parking. And again, we've done some concept sketches, and that will be an annual budget request through either the capital plan and or the non-capital plan. So right now there isn't any funding to make those expanded parking areas into some of those grass areas. We did get some access control installed. We had some problems with some after hours, maybe teenagers tearing up the back parking lot and doing some donuts. So we were able to get that installed. Somewhat of a not a big ticket item, but certainly something that'll help those adjacent property owners.
Okay. Any questions of further discussion on that item? Jason, one request. Would you send your presentation of A and B to all council members for me?
I can. Right? Let me wordsmith them a little bit, and then I'll share them.
Okay. Sounds good. Yes, Councilmember Shealy.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Gregory. Jason, at Bayview, all of the parking that's there currently, I guess, is owned by the city. Is that right? Because I know there's some shared space in there as far as fields, but with JIYSC.
That's right. The entire site is city owned, and then
okay,
there's no designated parking for one group versus the other. So it's kind of shared parking throughout.
Okay, and the additional parking wouldn't cut into any field space, I guess.
We do program some of that additional area based on, again, the schedule. But Lori seemed okay with a little bit of a parking expansion in the one area out in front of our fields.
Okay.
Councilmember Shealy, it won't be on the fields that are delineated now as you drive out there on our right-hand side. It's more on the part that's closer to Fort Johnson Road, where we've had some parking. It's kind of flat. Sometimes we'll send T-ball coach pitch some of the younger kids over in that area. But when we were out there looking at how much we could give up, it really is a small amount to get some more parking in there, and we can still send teams out there safely with what Jason had proposed.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Any more questions? Any other issues that the body would like to discuss? If not, I'd like to thank Laurie and Jason again. I thought that we got a lot accomplished in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Thanks a lot. This meeting's adjourned. Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the work. See you guys.
All right.